this president and this administration are doing is recognizing that, number one, because of the progress that we have made as an economy over the course of the last 18 months, we are objectively better positioned to actually prioritize lowering prices as the principal economic objective that we have today than almost any other country.
That was White House economic advisor Brian Deese at the Aspen Institute conference, trying to tout the, quote, progress the administration has made on the economy as Americans suffer from 40-year high inflation. Joining me right now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. He's a member of the Oversight and Reform and Armed Services Committees. He's also an Air Force veteran. And, Congressman, it's great to have you on the program this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So what would you say is progress from this administration's agenda so far?
It's a progress in the wrong direction. And that was just a bunch of word vomit. I couldn't believe what I just heard off that clip. As you mentioned, inflation's at a 40-year high, 9.1%. But what's even scarier, Maria, is that in June, inflation for the month was up 1.3%, which annualized is 17%. And we all know that what inflation really is at the end of the day is a tax on every American. The average American family is going to lose essentially $5,000 of purchasing power. Real wages are down as well. So, yeah, it's been a horrendous economic record for Joe Biden. And to sit there and try to spin it, that's pretty interesting.
Well, it's actually been an extraordinary year and a half. I mean, from one policy to the next, you're seeing failure. Whether it be economic policy, foreign policy, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, and of course, then there's the wide open border, which there's absolutely no acknowledgement of, Congressman. You introduced a bill that would force the federal government to reimburse Texas for the money spent securing the border. Tell me about that, and how much money do you think that is? I mean, I believe the Operation Lone Star was a $3 billion program. What kind of money are you looking at in terms of reimbursing Texas?
Well, we know that border security is ultimately it's the federal government's responsibility. Governor Abbott in Texas launched Operation Lone Star in March of last year. And our legislation aims to have the federal government reimburse Texas $1.4 billion because Texas is bearing the brunt. We share a 1,254-mile border with Mexico. But what Joe Biden's policies have done has made every state a border state. Maria, the worst month we've ever had with border crossings was in April with 234,000. That's 1,258% higher than it was the last April that President Trump was in office. And then it was only to be eclipsed by the latest data that we have, which was May, which was almost 240,000 illegal border crossings, 930% worse than when President Trump was in office. So it's 10 times worse. And that blame has to lay at the feet of Joe Biden.
So are they just making a bet that all of these people up 930% in the last two years, these encounters, that doesn't even include the gotaways, the people who are in this country and they were caught on surveillance camera, but they got away. Do they just make the assumption that all of these new people in America are going to vote Democrat? But what's the point here?
You know, it's left turn after left turn after left turn to appease their the far left base. 2.6 million people have crossed the border illegally under Joe Biden's watch. As you mentioned, 700,000 gotaways, known gotaways. The 3.6 billion, that's more than 22 United States. So, yeah, I guess their bet is that the descendants of these people will break Democratic. But what we've seen in Texas along the southern border is it's about 85, 90% Hispanic Americans that live there. And they are leaving the Democratic Party in droves. Myra Flores election in Texas, the 34th district. Ryan Guillen, a state rep, 18-year state rep. Democrats switched to the Republican Party. He's the Republican nominee. We're going to do very well along the border because those folks are at the tip of the sword here, and they're seeing the consequences of an open border, a porous border, and a moral border, and they're sick of the chaos, the cartels, the corruption, and the crime.
I mean, we've been documenting crimes that were committed by certain illegal migrants who have come in. We've been documenting at least 50 people that were apprehended who were actually on the terrorist list I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary what's going on here. Meanwhile, the House just passed the annual defense bill yesterday. That includes a pay raise for troops, thank God, including an inflation bonus for some. Congressman, was this enough? And what do you make of the defense bill number now? Initially, Joe Biden wanted it much lower. But I mean, we've got incredible, extraordinary issues around the world with our adversaries rising on the march.
It's amazing, Maria, that the 2 years I've been in Congress, sitting on the Armed Services Committee, passing a National Defense Authorization Act, and both times Joe Biden wanted to essentially cut the military. He wasn't accounting for inflation, whereas China was rearming, and they're spending 7% last year alone, and even higher this year. So it's an $850 billion package. It restores. It's a Trump-level spending, is what President Trump wanted. It reverses, as you mentioned, Joe Biden's defense cut. It modernizes, critically modernizes our military, particularly our nuclear arsenal as well, conventionally along the lines as well, because we have to keep up with China and the threat.
All right, so you're happy with the end result then?
Yes, yes. And considering the Republicans are in a minority, this is by far the best product we could have expected.
All right, Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much, sir. And thank you for your service to our great country. Congressman Pat Fallon joining us.